Welcome everyone. It's another free webinar, the July edition of our webinar. In this very episode, we'll be handling the topic, Introduction to Data Analysis. Data analysis is the topic today. This is coming to us from Geophia Academy. So in Geophia Academy, we teach students from computer basics, from zero computer to tech courses, covering front-end, back-end development courses, covering data analysis, digital marketing, youth. We cover also programs like AutoCAD, video editing, graphic design, UI, UX, and so many other courses like cybersecurity, ethical hacking. In Geophia Academy, we also take people from zero computer to basic computer knowledge. No matter your level, you can pick it up from there. Also, we teach students basic adult education. If we are not opportune to get back to school, or whatever thing, at Geophia Academy, you can go back to school. You can truly go back to school. Also, at Geophia, we prepare students for Nigerian exams, covering JAMB, GCE, WAEC, NECO exams. Also, foreign exams, including TOEFL, SAT, GMAT, GRE, IELTS, and IBCSE. So many other programs out there. You can register online courses as well as do basic business center activities. So at Geophia Academy, you have the privilege of preparing yourself for any professional exam, both within Nigerian and foreign context. So every month, at the last Friday of the month, we take in one of the courses to teach online for free. And many other programs that we have done over the years are there live on YouTube. And this program can also be watched live on YouTube as we get on this very evening. Let's get ourselves settled. Can get your system ready, can get your phone ready, get your notebook ready, get your pen ready. Also share the link to a friend so that you can connect immediately. It's a very insightful moment, and as this program holds every last Friday of the month. Sit tight as we on the edition. Sit tight as we come. So I make welcome this evening our facilitator for this evening, Mr. Innocent, as he gets on with the course. Innocent, you're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our monthly webinar. Today, we'll be looking at Introduction to Data Analytics. Now, some people will call this data analysis, and that's still correct. Depends on the technology you want to use. Basically, what this means is diving into data. This data may be readily available for you, but in a case where you don't already have the data, you can probably use this webinar as maybe a wake-up call to start collecting data. So basically what we'll be doing today is to run through some of the things you need to know to understand data analysis or data analytics, as you'd like to call it. To get started, let's see what our learning objectives are. Firstly, we are going to be learning about what data analytics is and why it's important. Then we are going to look at how to identify key components of the data analytics process. We're also going to look at how to recognize different types of data analytics. We're also going to see just quickly the different tools as well as techniques used in data analytics. And then finally, we are going to walk through and interpret a basic data insight through the use of a simple case study. These are the 5 core things we are going to be looking at in this webinar. So without further ado, let's get started. To answer the question, what is data analytics? Data analytics refers to the process of examining, transforming, and interpreting data to extract meaningful insights that support decision-making. It involves various techniques, including statistical analysis, machine learning, and data visualization to uncover patterns, trends, and correlations within data sets. Now, in today's digital age, data is being generated at an unprecedented rate. Companies, government organizations, as well as individuals all produce vast amounts of structured and unstructured data through transactions, social media interaction, Internet of Things devices, and many more. However, the raw data is not inherently valuable. Its true power only surfaces when it is analyzed and used. So I made mention of structured and unstructured data. What do I mean by structured data? Structured data is any form of data that is collected in a particular order consistently over a period of time. So let's say you walk into a supermarket. If you pay, the transaction is not recorded. That is not a structured way of collecting data. But if you are buying from a supermarket and every single time you for you, somebody, maybe the attendant has to, type some kind of information in the computer to generate the receipt. That is a structured way of collecting data. So structured and unstructured data are all over the place. And we said the true power of data cannot be utilized until it is collected and passed through the general process of data. On the other end is what we call real data analysis or data analytics. So the next question, why data analytics? Why do we need to do or pass through all of this process? Well, in today's fast-paced digital world, data is often referred to as the new oil. And you add probably information from the website where you went to add that card has become. All right, so it is referred to as the new oil. Organizations and individuals generate massive amounts of data on a daily basis. For example, we are in this meeting right now. We are generating data. Everybody that will join this meeting is being recorded. How long you are on this call is recorded as well. That is all data being generated on the fly. So because of that, from social media to online transactions, Internet of Things. Now, Internet of Things could be something like your smartwatch that you use for running, that keeps track of your heart rate, that keeps track of your steps per day. All of that is considered Internet of Things. So customer feedback, raw data alone, like we said, is not valuable. And we said what makes it valuable is the ability to analyze and derive insights from it. So yes, data analytics is important because one, it helps us to make data-driven decision. Instead of you just going by how you feel about a particular business, you can actually look at the data that suggests if you should dive into that type of business or not go into that type of business. That's one example of the why of data analytics. So gone are the days when businesses just rely solely on intuition to make critical decisions. Data analytics enable organizations to identify trends and patterns in customer behavior, for example, in order to optimize marketing campaigns based on real performance metrics, in order to improve operational efficiency by identifying some of the bottlenecks that may be in that particular industry. So this is not the time where you just make business decisions according to how you feel. All right, you make it based on the available data. Another important aspect of why is competitive advantage. Companies that leverage data analytics gain insight and significant edge over competitors by using data to predict market trends and customer preferences. Businesses can, for example, offer personalized experiences. For example, Netflix recommendation. How does Netflix know the next movie to watch after you're done watching one movie? It uses data. Amazon product suggestions. How do they know the product you may want to buy? For example, if I go to an online platform to buy a laptop, chances are they are going to suggest a laptop bag for me. How do they know that? All of those things are data driven. So this also improves customer retention and customer engagement. All right, so competitive advantage is another why of data analytics. The next one is efficiency as well as cost savings. Data analytics helps organizations to optimize their operations, leading to reduced waste and better resource allocation, faster decision making, and real-time insight. Automation of things like repeated tasks, things that you'd have to do again and again and again. With data analytics, it frees up that human resources for strategic work instead. So efficiency and cost savings is another aspect of why we do data analytics. Next one is risk management and fraud detection. Industries like finance and cybersecurity use data analytics to detect anomalies and prevent fraud. By analyzing patterns, companies can easily identify suspicious transactions in banking, predict potential security risk or threats, mitigate business risk even before they escalate. All of these rely on the use of data. Finally, healthcare and public sector advancements. In healthcare, data analytics is transforming patient care and medical research by predicting disease outbreaks, enhancing diagnostics with AI-driven analytics, personalizing treatment based on patient history. We are able to do all of these using things like data analytics. So yes, these three are some of the whys. These three are some of the whys of data analytics. Now, I can see Mr. Azubike raising, I don't know if that's a man or woman, but I can see Azubike Adele raising hand. Please, whatever question you have, leave it in the chat while we are going on. I'll respond to it as we go. Please, that question, quickly leave it in the chat. I'll get it immediately. Now, moving on, we're going to look at key components of data analytics. The key components of data analytics. So to do this, we are going to ask the question, where do data come from? But before that, what are the key components of data analytics? Data analytics is a multi-step process that involves collecting, processing, analyzing, and visualization of data to extract valuable insights. Each component plays a critical role in ensuring that the data used for decision-making is accurate, relevant, and actionable. By actionable, it means it's something you can act upon. It's not something that is just there for the sake of being there, but it's something that can actually be put into use. That is what we mean by actionable. So, where do data come from? Because we've been talking a lot about structured, unstructured data. Where do data come from? The first step in data analytics is collecting data from various sources. Collecting data from various sources. Just a quick side note, Mr. Azubike, I'm still expecting that information, that question in the chat box. All right, so the first steps in data analytics is collecting data from various sources. Data can be structured, that means organized in, let's say, a database, or unstructured. This unstructured data could be simply text, could be videos, it could be images. Those are examples of unstructured data. The accuracy and reliability of data analytics depends on the quality of the data you have collected. So if you are collecting data haphazardly, there's no guarantee that you are going to get a reasonable outcome. So the data has to be collected in a structured way instead of just collecting it however you feel or however you want. To collect data, one of the tools used is database. Data is stored in structured formats. In this case, we're using SQL databases like MySQL, PostgreSQL, or NoSQL databases like MongoDB and all of that. Businesses collect transactional data, customer records, and even financial information from this type of databases. So here's an example. If you have ever signed up for any online platform, for example, if you are on WhatsApp, WhatsApp has a database with all the chats you've sent on their platform. WhatsApp knows exactly when you join their platform. WhatsApp knows some of the messages you have deleted from your WhatsApp app. Why? Because all the things you do on that platform is replicated and stored in a structured way in a database. Another way of getting information, or another way of where we store data or where data come from is APIs. APIs is short for application programming interface. Now, this is for people who are kind of like maybe tech savvy. But APIs allow different software systems to communicate and exchange data used to retrieve data from third-party platforms like maybe social media, weather services, and financial markets. Here's another example of where APIs really shine. For example, I made mention of WhatsApp not long. If you are on your WhatsApp app on your mobile phone and you send a message, the moment you send that message on your mobile phone, let's assume you are also logged into your WhatsApp on your computer. That message automatically reflects on your computer and vice versa. Why? Because the WhatsApp software developers, they are using this API. So see API as the pumping machine you see in filling stations with double nozzle. All right. The fuel comes from the ground and it goes out through these double nozzles. So the moment one goes this way, it also replicates the other way. So APIs help us have information available different platforms that are having extra work. That is just the simple explanation of what APIs are. Another way of collecting data or where data comes from is surveys and questionnaires. Some of us have businesses. Some of us, we've asked customers for feedback. But when we hear this feedback, we only store it in our brains. We collect the information by ear, and we store it in our brain without any kind of written form of that collected feedback. That is unstructured. That is unstructured. Somebody can create an online form and just send to all their customers and say, please fill this form to let us know how we are doing in this business. That is one way of getting that. So surveys and questionnaires simply is a way by which organizations conduct surveys to collect customer feedback, employee satisfaction, and market research data. Example, you can use something like Google Form, which is free for everybody to use. You can use Typeform, you can use SurveyMonkey. Some of these platforms are free that you can just create a form, send it to your clients, send it to your customers, send it to your students, ask them for their insight into how your business is performing, how your service, how they perceive your service, and that helps you to improve. So that's an example of where you can collect data from. Another one is IoT, Internet of Things devices. Internet of Things devices generate real-time data from sensors in your smart homes. We have refrigerators now that is computerized. All right, so that is one. Factories, some of the wearables we have, like I said, your headgear, your wristwatches, all of that are considered Internet of Things. An example is a smart thermostat that track your energy usage, fitness bands, monitor things like your heart rate and your activity, how you walk, if you are running, if you are doing exercise. For those people who are active in the gym, they use it a lot. All right, so these are all considered Internet of Things. Then lastly, we're going to be looking at web scraping. Web scraping is just a way of scraping data off the internet. So if I have a website, you can easily scrape the data on my website without even asking for, access to scrape that data. Although that's not the right way to do it, because you have to, first of all, get permission to be able to scrape the data on my website. But that is just an example of what web scraping is. I can sit here and just quickly scrape websites of any company to get information. When I get that information, the information may not come in a structured way. I have to now go through some of the data analytics methods we are going to discuss to be able to now get a usable form of data that can help me maybe get insight into whatever kind of business that business or that company is into, or any kind of information that I want to retrieve. So web scraping extract data from websites for analysis. For example, let's say there's a particular website that is a competitor and you want to know what their market price is for a particular product or for all their products. Can use data analytics to just scrape the entire website and just get all of this information. That is basically what scraping is. All right, the next thing in the pipeline is data cleaning and data processing. Now that we have gotten this information from our databases, an API, through our surveys, or by scraping the internet for this information, what do we do? Because like I said, the information may not be consistent across the board. There may be some missing information. For example, there are some forms you fill. They say this information is required. There are some that are optional. Somebody else may decide to say, okay, this one is optional, but I want to provide that information. Somebody may say this is optional, so I'm just going to avoid it. All right. So you discover that there are discrete passes in that collected information. you have to now standardize that information. And this is what we call data cleaning. So raw data is often incomplete, inconsistent, and also contain errors. Before you start your analysis, data must be cleaned and processed to ensure accuracy as well as reliability. Key steps in carrying out data cleaning include handling missing data. So here what we are doing is simple. Filling missing values using statistical methods, for example, mean, median, mode. Removing record with excessive missing values. So let's assume this person has filled the form, there are a lot of things missing. You can't just use that person's record. So instead of that single record to skew the outcome of that analysis, what do? You just decide to remove that person's entire record altogether because it's not useful. That is what we call cleaning. So that is one of the things we do with data cleaning. So handling missing data. Another one is removing duplicates. So here we just identify and eliminate duplicate records in order to prevent biased analysis. I want to believe that is pretty straightforward. The next item here is to standardize the format. So ensure consistency in data. For example, if you have dates in that record, are all the dates formatted the same? Because there are some countries where the month come before the day and then the year. Whereas in some countries, the day come, the month in the middle, and then the year is the last thing. What if people are filling this information however they want? You have to take your time to standardize that structure in that date format. Capitalization, for example, some people don't mind if they're typing their name in lowercase, they don't care. But you want to achieve that standard way of representing the information before diving in. Another example is there at the bottom that says standardizing USA and United States into one format. So if you ask for somebody's country, the person may just put USA as an abbreviation. Some people will record US. Some people record United States. Some people record United States of America. So it is left for you to say, okay, from all of this, which of these formats do I want to use? I make sure that everybody from that country has the same way of entering their information. Though the data was not collected originally like that, but you have to go extra mile to standardize how the country name is represented across the entire data set. Another way of doing this is detecting and correcting errors, identifying outliers or incorrect entries. For example, negative age values in a demographic data set, fixing typos and inconsistencies. So this is how you detect and you correct some of the errors in the collected data. Then data transformation and normalization. So this is where you convert data into a common format for compatibility. For example, converting currency values into a single standard. Normalization ensures that numerical values are scaled appropriately. So when we talk about normalization, it's just to make sure, just more like what I said concerning different people putting down different representation of their countries. Standardizing it is just what normalization means. The final thing here is data integration. This is where you now merge data into a single data set before you start your analysis. For example, if this particular business you are trying to analyze data for has different branches, so let's say there's one in Lagos, there's another in Abuja, there's another in Port Harcourt. This data has to be collected from these different branches. The data has to all merge together. I have to merge all that data sets together before you start with your analysis. So normalization makes sure that the way the data coming from Lagos is structured It's exactly the same way the data coming from Abuja or Port Harcourt is structured. That is what we call normalization, and then you integrate all of it together into a single data source. Now, module 3, we'll be talking about types of data analytics. So before we start diving into the data to see what we can get out of it, we need to know the kind of data analytics we is collected and data is cleaned. Various analytical techniques are applied to uncover these trends, these patterns, and these insights. To further explore this, let's look at the techniques that we have when it comes to data analytics. So every time in data analytics, you may be doing one of the following. One, predictive analytics or predictive analysis. The purpose of this is it focuses on summarizing historical data to identify patterns and trends. It tries to answer the question, what happened? So, my bad. This is descriptive analysis. So basically, you are trying to describe exactly the past in your analysis. The technique we use here is data aggregation, gathering of data, data mining, data visualization, and then finally reporting. Here's a quick example. Monthly sales report showing revenue. How do we do this kind of analytics? So first of all, you gather all the sales record from the past. So that is why we said historical data. You gather all the sales records from the past to show revenue trends. For example, your website traffic reports indicating the number of visitors over time helps you to know. Most of the people who visit my website are from China. That helps you to understand where your core audience is located. Customer segmentation based on past purchases. So descriptive analytics is just focusing on summarizing historical data to identify patterns and trends because you want to know what actually happened, how you got here. Then the next one is diagnostic analytics. Diagnostic analytics goes beyond just descriptive analytics to explain the reason behind past outcomes. It answers the question, why did it happen? It answers the question, why did it happen? So analyzing why customers' visits increase in a specific quarter or in a specific month is diagnostics. You want to know why you are making more sales around December throughout the entire year. That is diagnostic. For example, you also want to investigate why marketing campaigns performed poorly in certain regions. So basically, you're trying to dig out what the issue is. That is what diagnostic analytics is about. Another kind of analytics we do is predictive analytics. Predictive analytics. Predictive analytics uses historical data, statistical algorithms, and machine learning to forecast future trends and outcomes. It answers the question, what might happen? What is coming up in the future? That is what predictive analytics is about. For example, you want to predict what your customer behavior may be in the next year. Forecasting sales trend in the next quarter, for example, you want to know. This is where you do predictive analytics. Then finally, we have prescriptive analytics. So this provides recommendation for actions or the action that has to be in order to optimize outcome. It answers the question, what should be done? What should be done? Recommending the best pricing strategy in order to maximize revenue is an example of predictive analytics. Suggesting personalized product recommendation based on past customer behavior is predictive analysis. Optimizing your supply chain logistics in order to reduce costs and improve efficiency is also another way of doing predictive analytics. So every single time you are doing not digital marketing this time, you are doing data analytics, you are doing descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, or prescriptive analytics. Now, businesses leverage all four types in order to make informed, data-driven decisions, leading to improved performance and competitive advantage. In order for you analytics, we need some basic tools. Once your data has been collected, your data has been cleaned, and you have identified the type of analytics you want to do, various analytical techniques are applied to uncover these trends and patterns and insights, like we said. So to further explore this, let's look at some of the tools that can be used for analytics. These are just some of the simple ones that you'd use without, going deep into all of this programming black hole that a lot of people get into. For example, I can say a lot of people already know how to use Excel. It can start with as simple as using Excel. Then there's a platform called Tableau. Tableau is also another one that can be used. Then there's Power BI, which is short for Power Business Intelligence. This is from Microsoft. So the same people that made Excel also have Power BI. Now, Power BI is a little bit more advanced, or when it comes to data analytics, it has, some bells and whistles that you don't find in Excel, but it is there. And it integrates with Excel very, very seamlessly. All right, so these are just some of the tools I want to list out: Excel, Tableau, and Power BI. Very simple and straight to the point. At this point, we are going to the last module, which is a simple case study of how we can do data analytics. But before then, I want us to quickly hear one or two things from Madame before we proceed. So once we are back, I'll walk through the case study, and then we answer questions, and then we'll conclude. So please, I've not seen any question in the chat. If you have any question, please leave it in the chat, and I'll answer that once Madam is done.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. This is our monthly webinar, free webinar from Geophia Academy that holds the last Friday of every month. That we pick up one of the courses that we train and give it out to the public for free. So like we know, Geophia Academy is a training center covering Nigerian exams, including JAM, preparatory section, GCE, WAEC, NECO exams, as well as foreign exams covering IELTS, TOEFL, SAT, GMAT, GRE. And we put our courses from basic computer, from zero computer to tech courses, from graphic, video editing, including cybersecurity, ethical hacking, digital marketing. So it is important we also learn how to learn some of these things as to get ourselves ready for the marketplace. So on a monthly basis, the last Friday of the month, we'll put up for this public as well as other activities. We do for physical classes, online classes, as well as home classes. And coincidentally, tomorrow, 1st of August, is actually our anniversary. The business anniversary is exactly 6 years that we started this business, and we are also coming up with 2 new books for launch. I know many of you joined right now. Maybe misplacing the timing. Tomorrow, Saturday, 1st of August, is the proper anniversary time. This is our free section that we usually do every last Friday of the month. So I wish everyone to join us again tomorrow, exactly 4 p.m. We'll share the link. This is a very different link. We'll share the link. This very link will not work tomorrow. Tomorrow, it is the anniversary, and as well as the book launch of the 2 books that will be coming out tomorrow. So let's get ourselves ready. Thank you so much for joining. Many of us joining from different states, different nations, in different locations. God bless you. And as we sit tight and wrap up for this section, we'll be rounding up the latest in the next few minutes. Thank you so much, and God bless you. As I hand over to Mr. Innocent, God bless you.
All right. Now, in conclusion, we are just going to walk through a simple example of how data analytics process will work. Now, first off, once data is collected and cleaned, like I said earlier, we can now employ different type of analytical techniques in order to uncover our trends and patterns, or whatever kind of insight you want to get from your data. So meet the Pennywise Mart. Pennywise is a multinational retail chain. This company is operating across 3 continents with over 300 stores worldwide. The company specializes in offering a wide range of products, including electronics and home essentials, with millions of customers shopping daily. So this company is available in the United States, say Nigeria, and the United Kingdom. Pennywise collects vast amount of data from various sources, such as sales transaction, inventory, customer feedback, as well as online engagement. Now, this spreadsheet has just 18 visible rows, but the whole document has more than 78,000 records. So if you are given this Excel sheet, the question will be, where do I start? Like I said, this is just 18 rows in this screenshot, but the entire document has about 78,000 rows. You ask yourself, where do I start? In fact, what am I looking for? So despite its massive presence, Pennywise faces several key challenges. What are some of those challenges? So first of all, what I'm trying to say here is this. We have our raw data in front of us, but we don't know what we are looking for. We don't know exactly what the problem is. It's one thing to have data available to you, but you need to know or figure out what you want to do with that data. What are you looking for in that data? You have to first of all identify that. So Pennywise teamed up with a couple of data analysts, and they were able to identify, after interacting with the stakeholders, that the business has some challenges. And these are some of the challenges they found out. That sales performance, they want to actually know or identify which product perform best in different locations and different seasons. So basically what this means is sales performance across the 3 different continents. That's one of the challenges. Customer insights. Understanding customer purchasing behavior and customer preferences is another challenge they want to uncover. Another one is inventory management, reducing stock shortages and overstocking in order to optimize supply chain operators. If you own a business and you don't know when the sale of a particular product goes up, it's a problem, because you may end up ordering a lot of products that may not get sold immediately, and that's a problem. So Pennywise, they are trying as much as they can to avoid this kind of problems. Well, because they have data, using data analytics, these problems can be solved. And that is what they did. So first of all, they draft out some objective. What is their objective? Pennywise is looking to leverage data analytics to drive business decisions, improve customer satisfaction, and increase profitability. By utilizing basic analytical techniques, the company aimed to enhance its operational efficiency and gain a competitive advantage over their customers. Simple and straight to the point. So what is the approach they employed? Well, the approach is simple. To extract insights, the company follows a structured data analytics process. What does that look like? Well, it looks like some of the things we've been talking about in the past, like one, data collection. Data collection. To address the business challenges, Pennywise gathers data from multiple sources. When we talk about multiple sources, we are talking about different store sales record from all their stores. Aggregating structured and unstructured data from different systems, including point of sale. That includes their sales transaction recorded at checkout. So every time you record, that transaction is recorded in that system. So they gathered all of those information. Their inventory system, their stock, their supplier shipments, as well as warehouse reports. They gathered all of this information together. Now, all of this is an example of data collection. Data cleaning. After aggregating all these records, well, because the data was collected from different locations across different continents, chances are the data may not be formatted the same way. So duplicate has to be removed. Decision has to be made on how to handle missing values and columns that are irrelevant to the analysis they are about to carry out. Another thing is, because of inaccuracy as well as inconsistent data can result in a skewed or biased outcome from data analytics, they make sure that ensuring data accuracy is on top of one of the things that they have to do in this phase of data cleaning. Now that data has been cleaned, what's the next step? This is called data modeling. With data modeling, you understand the data. You define the relationships. You optimize the data you've collected for analysis. Just to take a quick example of what data modeling would look like. Now, if you're using a tool like Power BI, if you're using a tool like Tableau, you can do all of these things in those software. Let's see an example. So if you check here we have the product table. So basically what we did here is we created a separate table that contained all the products sold across all the stores. Then we have another table here that holds all the sales record from all the stores. Then another table to hold the location. Now this one is continental location. We can also drill this down into the different branches that they have. And now we begin to match them up. For example, if line 1, if the sale is Coca-Cola, Here, we'll add the ID of the location where that Coca-Cola was sold. We'll know the price of that product. We'll know the shipping cost of that product, how much was spent. We'll even want to know what the profit margin is. The next one here may come from the United States. So we want to know how much is sold for. The same information is replicated throughout that record. So this is what data modeling may look like. Now that the data has been modeled, the next thing is data visualization. What does this mean? If this data is presented in an Excel spreadsheet, it is difficult to understand. Very difficult to understand because we have an Excel spreadsheet of 78,000 records. How many days will it take you to look at each and every one of that sales record? Is difficult. So you can't even make sense of it. This is where data visualization comes into play. Information should be easy to read and understand. So basically, you avoid unnecessary clutter, excessive colors, or distracting elements in your visualization. One of the important things here is also interactivity. Allow users to filter, to drill down, to zoom, or to hover in order to get additional details about the information they are seeing on the screen. Another one is simplicity. The data has to be simple. Keep only visuals that add value to whoever is looking at it. Reduce unnecessary decorations and focus attention on key insights. So from that record that we just saw, Pennywise data analyst came up with this visual. And as you can see, here we have the sales by region. You can see Nigeria here. The sales from Nigeria is about 25% all year round. United States about 45%. United Kingdom is about 36%. So with this donut chart here, we can see clearly, without even looking at any numbers, who made more sales. Who made more sales? We can easily see it here. And now we take a closer look at the global market share. We can see the breakdown from the United States, Northwest, we can see. Southwest, we can see. From the United Kingdom, we can see region 1, region 2. From Nigeria, we can see region 2. We can see all of this information being represented in a very, very beautiful way. This is what data visualization means. And then we come back to the top here where we see the total revenue, and we are seeing about $15.4 million. And then we can also see the breakdown of the cost for shipping, 1.1 million. So total revenue does not mean these are total profits. This is just telling us how much we made. To get the profit, you must make sure you minus all the expenses to be able to get your final profit. And then we can also see the total order quantity. So 78,500 units were sold throughout the different stores across 3 continents. And then we can see some of the price breakdown where we have, let's say in the United Kingdom, we have some of the sales in Nigeria. If you come down here, you see key influencers, we see some of these. All of this is spread across the dashboard, and it is presented in a colorful, meaningful way that just by looking at the dashboard alone, you can tell yourself this is what is going on. But all these things you see on the screen, the data is the same as what I showed us earlier. It came from a simple Excel spreadsheet like this. But with data analytics technique, it was made to look this way eventually. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is just a quick introduction to data analytics and how all of these things can be carried out using these simple tools, applying these different analytics path. If you are doing it to prescribe a solution to a problem. If you are doing the data analytics to predict what may happen in the future, if you want to know what caused something to happen in the past, descriptive, and we use this technique or this model to be able to achieve data. Now, because this is just a 1 hour webinar, we can't go deep into real life demonstrations, but of course, I hope this was able to maybe answer some of the questions you may have concerning data analytics. So if there's any question, you can quickly leave that in the chat, and then I'll answer that before we wrap for today. So please, let's leave that question in the chat very quickly, and then we'll answer and maybe learn something, maybe something you feel I just glazed over without going into detail. You can just quickly throw that in.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Innocent. Thank you.
Okay, there's no question in the chat yet, so over to you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Innocent. Thank you. We are grateful for everyone that made it tonight, this evening. It's a monthly program that comes from Geophia Academy, and it comes up the last Friday of the month. In Geophia Academy, we teach students from computer courses to Nigerian exams preparation and foreign exam tutorials, and also register students for the foreign exams for their exam progresses, as well as the adult education. A lot of people have been out of school for a while and maybe have no privilege of returning back to school. At Geophia, you have the privilege of returning back to school. Also, we get into register people for NYC registration and major online programs. So like I mentioned, it's a monthly program that happens the last Friday of the month. Today is the last Friday of the month of July. By the next last Friday of August, we'll also be here just for 1 hour. And at Geophia, we take each of these courses that we present in the free webinar, from basic computer to tech courses, cybersecurity, data analysis, digital marketing, front end, back end, different courses, video editing, graphic courses, Excel package. So you can register online for your courses. You can also register physically and do your lessons. Or also you have good also to join for any of the programs that we also put together. So like I've sent programs already, Geophia Academy is 6 years tomorrow, 1st of August. By 4 p.m., the anniversary event will be holding, and I believe many of us will be getting the link for tomorrow's meeting. This is not the link for tomorrow's meeting. There will be another link to be shared for tomorrow's event at 4 p.m. Join us with excitement as we celebrate God's faithfulness over Geophia for the past 6 years. And there's several students that are out there that have gone through our inspiring training sessions. And the book launch will also happen tomorrow. By God's grace, 2 books are coming out, 100 Essential Tips of Womanhood, as well as What If the Root is Anxiety? What if anxiety is the root? Join us tomorrow at 4 p.m. for the anniversary and the book release. God bless you for joining us. Like I said, it's a monthly program, and we appreciate everyone that made it tonight. And we trust that we'll all gather again by the last Friday of the month of August. God bless you for joining, and have a fruitful day as we see into the new month. Thank you.